All right, buckle up everyone, because today we are taking a deep dive into a topic that's pretty darn fascinating, even for me, and I'm, well, me.
We're talking about your eyes.
Yes. Well, specifically, we're going to be diving deep into refractive errors.
Those vision problems that millions and millions of people deal with.
Exactly, like nearsightedness, farsightedness, astigmatism, the usual suspects.
And chances are you probably know someone who wears glasses or contacts to correct those very errors.
For sure. But have you ever stopped to think about why those vision problems even happen in the first place? Like, what's going on inside the eye that causes all the blurriness?
Well, that's exactly what we're going to uncover today.
We've got some seriously in-depth medical articles from the Cleveland Clinic and patient.uk.
And to add to that, some super interesting research and even some practical advice from Modern Vision Solutions. They're an eye care center.
So by the end of this deep dive, you won't just know what refractive errors are, you'll actually understand how your eye works.
What causes those vision glitches?
And most importantly, what you can do about them.
It's like we're giving you a backstage pass to your own vision.
Okay, so before we get into all the things that can go wrong, let's start with the basics.
The fundamentals.
How does vision even work? I mean, we open our eyes and bam, there's the world.
Right. But what's the science behind all that magic?
Seriously, like, are our eyes shooting out beams like Superman or something?
No, not quite. No eye lasers here.
Good to know.
It's actually a lot more like a camera.
Okay, I was hoping you'd say that. I love a good analogy.
So think about light as a wave.
Okay, I'm picturing a wave.
And when that wave of light hits your eye, the first thing it encounters is the cornea.
The cornea. Remind me what that is again?
That's the clear, dome-shaped front part of your eye.
Oh, right.
You can actually feel it if you gently touch your eyelid.
Oh, I'm doing it right now.
Feeling it?
Yeah, I can feel it. So, is the cornea kind of like the lens of a camera?
Exactly. It acts like a lens, bending that incoming light.
So it's bending the light.
Yeah, think of it like a prism splitting sunlight into a rainbow.
Okay, I see that.
It bends and directs the light.
Okay, so the light gets bent by the cornea.
Then it travels through the pupil.
The pupil, that's the black circle in the center of your eye, right?
Yep, that's the one.
I always thought it was just like a hole.
It is a hole, but it's not just any hole.
What does it do then?
It actually controls how much light enters the eye.
So it's like a gatekeeper for light.
Exactly. It's kind of like the aperture on a camera, how it adjusted to different lighting conditions.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
So like in bright sunlight, our pupils get smaller.
They constrict, yep, letting in less light to protect the sensitive parts inside.
And in dim lighting, they get bigger.
Widen, yep, to allow more light in so we can still see.
That's pretty neat. Our eyes are so smart.
They really are. So we've got the cornea bending the light, the pupil controlling the amount. What do you think comes next?
Let me guess. Maybe something else that bends the light.
You got it. It's the lens.
The lens.
It's located right behind the pupil.
And what does it do?
It further fine-tunes the focusing of the light.
Even more bending. Why so much bending?
Well, it's all about making sure that light lands exactly where it needs to go.
Which is?
The retina.
Ah, the retina.
It's at the very back of the eye.
Like the back wall?
Yep. And it's super important because it's basically the film in our camera analogy.
It's what captures the image.
You nailed it. The retina is this light-sensitive surface that's responsible for capturing all the visual information.
So the cornea and the lens work together to create a sharp image on the retina.
That's the goal.
What happens once the image is on the retina, though?
This is where the real magic happens.
Tell me.
So the retina is packed with millions of light-sensitive cells.
Millions.
Think of them like tiny little receptors.
Okay, tiny receptors.
And what they do is they convert the light that hits them into electrical signals.
Oh, wow. So it goes from light to electrical signal.
Exactly. And then those signals are sent through the optic nerve.
The optic nerve. That's like a cable, right?
It's like a super high-speed cable zipping that visual information straight to the brain.
So cornea bends the light, pupil controls the amount, lens fine-tunes the focus, image hits the retina, gets converted to electrical signals, optic nerve carries them to the brain.
And that's when we actually see.
That's incredible. It's like our eyes take in all this information, convert it, send it to the brain, and our brain just knows what to do with it.
It's pretty amazing when you think about it.
It really is. But here's the thing.
There's always a but, right?
It seems like there is. So what's the but this time?
Well, sometimes this whole intricate focusing system, that perfect bending of light by the cornea and the lens,
It gets messed up.
yeah, it gets a little off.
Off? Like how?
That's where refractive errors come in.
Okay. So refractive errors are what happens when the focusing goes wrong.
Exactly. It's like, maybe the camera lens is smudged or it's the wrong strength.
So instead of the light hitting the retina perfectly, it goes somewhere else.
It might focus slightly in front of the retina or behind it.
And that's what causes blurry vision.
Blurry, fuzzy, distorted. Yep.
Okay, that makes so much sense.
Yeah.
So let's talk about those focusing flubs in more detail.
Let's break them down.
What are the main types of refractive errors that can cause all this blurry vision?
Well, we've got myopia, hyperopia, astigmatism, and presbyopia.
Usual suspects. Let's start with myopia.
All right, myopia.
That's just nearsightedness, right?
We got it.
So tell me all about it.
Basically, with myopia, the eye is either a little bit too long or the cornea is too curved.
Okay, so it's a shape issue.
Exactly. And because of that shape, the light rays converge too soon.
Converge.
They come together, basically, and they focus in front of the retina instead of directly on it.
So they miss the target.
They do, and that's what causes the blurriness.
So you can see things up close, but the further away something is, the blurrier it gets.
Exactly.
It's like trying to read a street sign from a block away.
Exactly. Or like if you had a projector and you projected the image slightly in front of the screen.
The distant parts would be fuzzy?
That's a great way to visualize it.
Okay, so myopia is the eye is too long or the cornea is too curved problem.
Right.
What about when the eye is too short?
That's hyperopia, also known as farsightedness.
Foresightedness. So it's the opposite of nearsightedness.
You got it. In this case, the eye isn't quite powerful enough to focus the light correctly on the retina.
So the light focuses behind the retina this time.
Exactly. Either the eye is a little too short or the cornea is too flat, so the light overshoots the landing spot.
And that means you can see far away clearly, but struggle with things up close.
Like reading a book.
Right.
It's like the image is projected behind the screen. You miss those close-up details.
Okay, that makes sense. Now, what about astigmatism? That one always sounds a bit more, I don't know, complicated.
It is a bit unique.
Lay it on me.
So with astigmatism, it's not really about the length of the eye.
It's not.
It's about the shape of the cornea.
The shape again.
Instead of being perfectly round, like a basketball, the cornea is shaped more like a football, with one curve that's steeper than the other.
A football-shaped eye, that's wild.
Yeah.
So how does that uneven shape mess with vision?
Well, because of that irregular shape, the light rays get scattered as they pass through the cornea.
Scattered?
Yeah, they don't all focus on a single point on the retina.
So they're going all over the place.
Kind of. And that results in blurry or distorted vision.
But this time it's both near and far objects that are blurry.
That's right. It can affect vision at all distances.
Wow, that's a double whammy. Okay, we've covered myopia, hyperopia, and astigmatism.
We have.
What about that last one you mentioned, presbyopia?
Presbyopia.
The one we all have to look forward to.
This one is directly related to age.
So it's not about the shape of the eye.
Not exactly.
What is it about then?
Well, as we get older, the lens inside our eye, the one that helps us focus on things up close,
Yeah, that lens.
it starts to lose its flexibility,
It gets stiff.
like a rubber band that's lost its stretch.
Perfect analogy. So it can't change shape as easily anymore.
Exactly, and that makes it harder to focus on near objects,
Which is why people start needing reading glasses after a certain age.
usually around 40 or so.
I knew it! It's like
Yeah.
the lens just can't keep up with those close-up tasks anymore.
It's interesting. Even Benjamin Franklin struggled with presbyopia.
No way!
And that's actually what led him to invent bifocals.
Wow, bifocals were a solution born out of necessity.
It's pretty amazing to think that even centuries ago, people were coming up with creative ways to deal with these vision challenges.
Human ingenuity at its finest. So it sounds like almost everyone will experience at least one of these refractive errors at some point in their lives.
It's incredibly common.
It makes sense. I mean, blurry vision is one of the main reasons people see an eye doctor.
Exactly.
So we've talked about how vision works and the main ways it can go wrong.
The basics.
But what are some other signs that you might have a refractive error?
Well, besides blurry vision, you might experience double vision.
Double vision, that sounds scary.
It can be, and sometimes people see halos or streaks around lights, especially at night.
Oh, I've heard of that. That's usually a sign of astigmatism, right? And those sound pretty disorienting.
They definitely can be.
What about other symptoms, like if your eyes are just feeling strained?
That's a good point. Headaches, eye strain, even eye pain can all be related to uncorrected refractive errors.
Ouch.
It's because your eye muscles are working overtime trying to compensate for the blurry image.
I can definitely relate to that, especially after staring at a computer screen for too long.
That's a common trigger.
What about kids, though?
Good question. kids might not be able to articulate what they're experiencing visually.
So they might not say, "Hey, Mom, I think I have myopia."
Right. They might just say things are fuzzy or complain about headaches.
So parents and teachers, be on the lookout for those clues.
Exactly. Are they squinting a lot, rubbing their eyes, holding things really close to their face? Those could all be signs.
Good to know. Now, these refractive errors,
They're often caused by a combination of factors.
it's not just one thing.
Right. It's this interplay of genetics, age, and lifestyle.
So nature and nurture both playing a role.
Exactly. Let's start with genetics.
Okay, so if your parents wear glasses, are you destined to wear them too?
Not necessarily.
Phew, that's good news.
But genetics can definitely increase your risk.
So our genes load the gun, but our lifestyle pulls the trigger.
That's a great way to put it.
So what about lifestyle? What kind of things can influence our eye health?
Well, one of the biggest factors researchers are looking at now is near work.
Your work.
Yeah, basically the amount of time we spend doing things up close, like reading, studying, staring at screens.
So all those hours we spend on our phones and computers.
Exactly. And there's a growing body of research that suggests it might be contributing to the rise in nearsightedness.
Interesting. So too much screen time could actually be bad for our eyes.
That's the thinking, particularly for developing eyes.
That's a little concerning considering how much screen time is part of our lives now.
It is something to be mindful of.
Are there any other lifestyle factors that might contribute to refractive errors?
Well, along with all that near work, there's some evidence that not spending enough time outdoors might play a role too.
Really? So, like, getting kids outside more could actually help protect their vision.
That's what some of the research is suggesting.
Fascinating. It seems like we're just starting to understand all the complex factors that influence our eye health.
It's definitely an area of ongoing research.
Now, what about other causes besides genes and lifestyle? Do any medical conditions or health issues affect vision?
Yeah, there are a few other things that can contribute.
Like what?
Well, health conditions like diabetes can sometimes affect vision,
Diabetes, okay.
and certain medications, eye surgeries, even premature birth can have an impact on eye development.
It's really interesting how interconnected our eyes are with our overall health.
Absolutely. And that actually brings us to the next part of our deep dive.
Treatment options.
Exactly. All the different ways we can address refractive errors and improve vision.
So many choices. It's like a journey to clear vision of the different paths you can take.
I like that.
And the first step on that journey is always a comprehensive eye exam, right? To
Absolutely.
figure out what kind of refractive error you have.
And how severe it is.
And from there, you've got options.
Yeah.
Eyeglasses, contact lenses, even surgical correction.
A whole toolbox of solutions.
Amazing. So in the next part of our deep dive,
We're going to explore all those options in detail.
stay tuned. All right, welcome back, everyone. So we've been talking about all those pesky refractive errors that can mess with our vision.
Yeah, those focusing flubs that make things blurry.
But now let's talk about how to fix them. Because the good news is
We've got options.
lots of them. From the classic solution of eyeglasses.
To the super high-tech world of laser surgery.
It's amazing how many choices are available these days to help people see clearly.
It really is.
Okay, so let's start with the tried and true eyeglasses.
The OG of vision correction.
They've been around for centuries, and for good reason.
They're reliable, effective, and, let's be honest, pretty stylish these days.
They are. But beyond the fashion statement, how do they actually work?
It all comes down to, you guessed it, bending light.
Bending light again.
It's all about bending light. So eyeglass lenses, they're carefully crafted to redirect those light rays
Redirect them how?
so that they focus properly on your retina.
Ah, back to the retina.
It's like if your cornea or lens isn't bending the light quite right, the eyeglass lens steps in and does the job for them.
Teamwork.
Exactly. And the shape and strength of the lens, they're tailored to your specific refractive error.
So like different prescriptions for different problems.
Exactly. For example, a concave lens, that's the one that curves inward, it's used to correct nearsightedness.
Myopia.
Yep. While a convex lens, which curves outward, helps with farsightedness.
Hyperopia.
You got it.
And what about the lenses that correct astigmatism? Remember, that's the one where the cornea is shaped more like a football.
Ah, yes, the football-shaped eye. For astigmatism, the lenses are a bit more complex.
I imagine so.
They need to correct for that uneven curvature, so they have different curvatures and different meridians. It's like super fine-tuning.
Wow, they can do that.
They can. It's pretty amazing.
And then you've got multifocal lenses like bifocals or trifocals.
Yes, the multitaskers of the lens world.
No more switching between reading glasses and distance glasses.
Exactly. And they've gotten so much more seamless now with progressive lenses.
Those are the ones with a gradual transition, right?
Yep. So you can see clearly at all distances without those telltale lines.
I know what you're talking about.
It's really remarkable how far eyeglass technology has come.
It is. But now, let's switch gears and talk about those little wonders of technology, contact lenses.
Contact
They're
lenses,
a popular alternative to glasses.
especially for people who want a more natural feel.
So how do they work? Is it the same principle as eyeglasses?
It is. They still refocus light to correct vision.
But instead of sitting in front of the eye,
They sit directly on it.
wait, so you're telling me they put a tiny lens on your eyeball?
Pretty much.
Does that even feel weird?
Most people actually find them very comfortable, especially the newer, softer lenses.
Really?
You barely even notice they're there after a while.
Huh, interesting.
And just like with eyeglasses, you've got different types to choose from.
Different types of contact lenses.
Yep. So you've got your soft lenses. They're the most popular.
What are they made of?
They're made from these flexible, water-absorbing materials that basically conform to the shape of your eye.
Like a little gel pad for your eye.
Pretty much. And they come in all sorts of wearing schedules, daily disposables, weekly, even monthly ones.
Wow, so convenient.
But you do have to be really careful about cleaning them.
That's super important.
Hygiene is crucial. Otherwise, you risk getting eye infections, and nobody wants that.
Definitely not. Now, you mentioned another type earlier, rigid gas permeable lenses.
RGPs, yes.
How are they different from soft lenses?
Well, they're smaller and harder.
Smaller and harder. That doesn't sound comfortable.
They can take a bit of getting used to, but because they hold their shape better, they can actually provide sharper vision for some people.
Sharper vision. Interesting.
Especially for those with astigmatism.
So it's a trade-off.
It is. Comfort versus clarity.
But it really depends on what your eye doctor recommends for you.
Exactly. They'll help you figure out the best fit.
Okay, so we've covered eyeglasses and contact lenses, the classic options.
The tried and true.
But now, let's talk about the really futuristic stuff.
The stuff of science fiction.
Surgical correction.
That's right. We're talking about permanently changing the shape of the cornea.
Permanently. Wow, that's intense.
It is, but it can be life-changing for people who qualify.
So no more glasses, no more contacts.
Freedom from those things.
That's the dream, right? So how does it actually work?
Well, the most common procedure is LASIK.
LASIK, I remember that mouthful.
Laser-assisted in situ keratomileusis.
Oh boy, that's a lot of syllables. But break it down for me. What are they actually doing during this surgery?
So first, the surgeon creates a thin flap in the outer layer of the cornea.
A flap, like with a scalpel?
Not exactly. They use either a very precise surgical instrument called a microkeratome or a special laser.
Oh wow, so high tech.
It is. And then they use a different laser, an excimer laser, to reshape the corneal tissue underneath that flap.
They reshape the cornea.
Exactly. And that reshaping is what corrects the refractive error.
So they're basically sculpting the cornea with a laser.
That's a great way to put it. It's like microscopic eye sculpting.
Amazing. And we read that there are a few other surgical procedures too, like PRK and LASIK.
Those are alternatives to LASIK.
How are they different?
They still involve lasers, but they use slightly different approaches to reshape the cornea.
So different techniques, but same goal.
Exactly.
Now there's another fascinating option we came across. IOL implants.
Yes, IOLs.
Tell me everything.
IOL stands for intraocular lens.
Okay, intraocular lens.
It's a tiny artificial lens that's implanted into the eye to correct vision.
Implanted, like it goes inside the eye.
Yep.
Is it permanent?
It is. So it's kind of like a permanent contact lens, but inside the eye.
Wow, that's wild. What kind of vision problems can it correct?
Oh, a wide range. High levels of nearsightedness, farsightedness, even astigmatism.
And I read that it can even help with presbyopia.
You're right. There are special multifocal IOLs that can provide both near and distance vision.
So it's like having bifocals built into your eye.
Exactly. Pretty cool, right?
Super cool. So no more reading glasses for people with presbyopia.
Potentially. It's like a vision upgrade.
Okay, and then there's something called refractive lens exchange.
RLE.
That sounds intense.
It is a more involved procedure similar to cataract surgery.
Cataract surgery. But we're talking about refractive errors.
Well, in RLE, they actually remove the eye's natural lens and replace it with an artificial IOL, even if there isn't a cataract.
So it's like a lens swap.
That's a good way to think about it.
And this is for people who aren't good candidates for ASIC or other procedures.
It can be, yes.
Wow, so many options. It's amazing what they can do these days.
It really is. But it's important to remember
Right.
that all surgical procedures carry some level of risk.
Of course. Yeah.
So it's crucial to talk to your eye doctor and figure out if you're a good candidate.
And to understand all the potential benefits and risks.
Absolutely. It's your vision we're talking about.
And you only get one set of eyes.
That's right.
So for anyone listening who's feeling a bit overwhelmed by all these choices,
I can imagine.
remember, the first step is simple. Just get an eye exam.
Exactly. Your eye doctor can be your guide on this journey.
They can help you navigate all the options and find the best path for you.
That's what they're there for.
Because it's about finding a treatment that fits your individual needs.
Your lifestyle.
And let's be honest, your budget.
All of those things come into play.
Okay, so we've talked about treating refractive errors after they develop.
Right.
But I'm curious, are there ways to prevent them from happening in the first place?
That's the million-dollar question.
Right. Can we stop these vision problems before they even start?
Well, we can't completely eliminate the risk,
Darn it.
but there are some things that might help.
Tell me everything.
So, remember we talked about how spending time outdoors, especially during childhood.
Right. Getting those kids out in the sunshine.
Exactly. That seems to have a protective effect against myopia.
So less screen time, more green time.
That's the idea. Let those eyes soak up some natural light, focus on things far away.
Good advice for all of us, actually.
It is. But of course, we live in a digital world, so for those of us who are glued to our screens,
Like me.
there are things we can do to minimize eye strain.
Give me all your tips.
Well, remember the 20-20-20 rule?
Refresh my memory.
Every 20 minutes, take a break from your screen, look at something 20 feet away for 20 seconds.
Oh, I've heard of that, but I definitely don't do it enough.
It's easy to forget, but it really helps give your eye muscles a break.
Okay, I'm going to try to be more mindful of that.
And making sure your workspace is well lit can help too.
Good point.
And adjust your screen brightness. You don't want it too bright or too dim.
So many things to think about.
But it all adds up.
And of course, if you're already experiencing any eye strain or discomfort,
See your eye doctor.
they can help rule out any serious issues.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've explored the mechanics of vision, all the ways it can go wrong, and the amazing ways we can correct those errors.
Whirlwind tour of the eye.
But now, let's zoom out a bit and talk about the global perspective.
The bigger picture.
Because refractive errors aren't just an individual problem,
They're a global health issue.
and a big one. Right.
Huge. Uncorrected refractive errors are responsible for a staggering amount of avoidable vision impairment worldwide.
How much are we talking?
It's estimated to be about half of all cases.
Half. That's a crazy number.
It is. Millions of people are living with blurry vision simply because they don't have access to basic eye care. Things like glasses or an eye exam.
That's heartbreaking.
It really is, especially when we have so many effective solutions available.
Right. We're so lucky to have these resources.
Oh, we are.
And it really highlights the importance of those regular eye exams, even if you think your vision is fine.
Early detection is key.
So, to our listeners out there, if you've been putting off that eye exam,
Now might be a good time to schedule it.
excellent point. And in the final part of our deep dive,
We'll delve deeper into the global impact of refractive errors.
and we'll talk about what's being done to address this issue.
Stay tuned.
Welcome back, everyone, for the final part of our deep dive into the world of refractive errors. We've covered so much ground today.
From the inner workings of the eye to all the amazing ways we can correct vision problems.
Yeah, it's been quite a journey. But before we wrap things up, I wanted to circle back to something we touched upon earlier.
What's that?
The global impact of refractive errors. It's something that really stuck with me as we were going through the research.
It's a crucial aspect of this topic, for sure.
Because it's easy to get caught up in all the technology and treatment options.
The advance.
But it's important to remember that refractive errors aren't just an individual problem. They're a global health issue.
And a major one at that.
As we mentioned before, uncorrected refractive errors account for a huge portion of avoidable vision impairment worldwide.
Millions and millions of people are living with blurry vision simply because they don't have access to basic eye care.
It's mind-boggling, isn't it?
It really is.
Imagine trying to learn in school or work or even just navigate your surroundings when everything is blurry.
And you don't have access to glasses or an eye exam. It's a huge barrier.
It makes you realize how lucky we are to have these resources readily available.
It does. It puts things in perspective.
And it underscores the importance of supporting organizations that are working to address this global issue.
Absolutely. There are some incredible groups out there doing amazing work.
What are some of the things they're doing?
Well, there's the World Health Organization, of course, and then various nonprofits that are focused on increasing access to eye care in underserved communities.
So getting people the eye exams they need.
Distributing glasses, training local healthcare workers to provide basic eye care.
That's so important. Empowering communities to take care of their eye health.
Exactly. And there's a lot of research happening too, looking for new and innovative ways to prevent and treat refractive errors.
Does there hope for the future?
Absolutely. There's a lot of progress being made.
It's a team effort, isn't it? Researchers, eye care professionals, nonprofits, governments, everyone working together.
It really is. It takes a global village to tackle a global issue.
Well said. So, as we wrap up our deep dive today, what are some key takeaways for our listeners? What do we want them to remember?
Well, I think the most important thing is that refractive errors are common, but they're also treatable.
Whether it's nearsightedness, farsightedness, astigmatism, presbyopia, there's a solution out there.
With eyeglasses, contact lenses, surgical options, we have so many tools to help people see clearly.
And we've got those incredible advancements in technology that are constantly pushing the boundaries of what's possible.
It's really exciting to see what the future holds.
But it's not just about treatment. It's also about prevention.
Right. Encouraging healthy habits, like spending time outdoors and taking breaks from screens. Those things can make a big difference.
Especially for kids. Protect those developing eyes.
And of course, regular eye exams are essential for everyone, no matter what your age.
Catch those potential issues early. It's the best way to preserve your vision.
Couldn't agree more.
So to our listeners, if you've been putting off that eye exam, well,
you know what to do.
Schedule it. Your eyes will thank you.
They will.
Well, that brings us to the end of our deep dive into the fascinating world of refractive errors.
It's flown by.
I feel like I've learned so much. I hope our listeners have too.
Me too. It's been an eye-opening journey.
I love that. And to help everyone continue exploring this topic, we'll be sure to include some additional resources in the show notes.
Links to all the articles and organizations we talked about.
Plus some helpful tips for protecting your eye health.
So be sure to check those out.
And remember, your eye doctor is your partner in all things eye health.
Don't hesitate to reach out to them with any questions.
They're the experts. All right, that's all from us today.
Thanks for joining us on this illuminating deep dive.
We'll see you next time, and until then, take good care of those precious eyes.
They're the windows to a world of wonder.